Hi, it's Ted Ritzer with the Greening Government Speaker Series, and I just realized that I think I had my mic muted. So I'll do a quick introduction to the session. Our session is a collaboration between Alberta Environment and Parks, the Alberta Climate Change Office, and also the Municipal Climate Change Action Center. Today we're joined by Mary Von Hassel with the Aylesbury District, and she's the lead on a wonderful document that describes their strategy for technology, which I think really helps to fulfill the aim of moving to digital, and that's how you can really reduce carbon footprint. So with that said, I'll turn it over to Mary Von Hassel. Thanks so much.
Hi, thanks very much for that, Ted. Let me just open this up and go to full screen. So hopefully you can all see that now. Okay, so as Ted described, I'm here to talk about connected knowledge, which is our new digital strategy. We have launched this year on the back of some strategy work that we did last year, and it's very much, as its name describes, really about connecting together our data, turning data into information, and then information into knowledge, and about then using that knowledge to better serve our customers, better serve our staff, and actually make more improvements going forward. We've just agreed the formal sign-off for the first step of funding, so we're kind of moving into the next stage, really. And the focus is all around customers. So what services do our customers want? What are they expecting to go online with? We hear terms like consumerization. People expect to be able to use their phone to engage with everything that they do. So actually they should be able to use their phone to engage with government services as well. So we're very much looking at connecting to the customer and making sure that we can deliver a customer-centric service. And from a staff point of view, making sure that we're providing really simple solutions, so easy to use, not the kind of old systems that require kind of months and months or weeks and weeks of training, but systems that are intuitive. So one of the ones we've recently introduced, the greatest positive thing I heard was one of the members of staff said, oh, it's just like using Facebook. So we're trying to get kind of that kind of philosophy in. So I'm Mary Von Hassel, as Ted said. My background actually come from the private sector. I've been with the council for about 4 years, and I started off on the IT operational side and have moved into the strategy side. So I've been helping really to kind of lead that journey in terms of where we go next. And to kind of start off with one of our wows, really, we are hoping to be, I'm pretty sure we will be, the first UK council to go live with Alexa skills. So we've been working very closely, and I'll come back to exactly what we've been doing. But for us, this is trying to demonstrate how much we want to be in touch with our customers. So people have them, you know, there's quite a hype here about them, and people are keen to use them for all sorts of stuff. So we're hoping to go live with some of our services, as I say, I'll talk about later, and then exactly what you can and can't do with Alexa. Just going back a little bit then to explain kind of how we got here. So our background, so 5-6 years ago, we actually had quite a forward-thinking IT strategy at the time, which was all about cloud. When we did it, it was actually before my time actually, but when it was done, it was before its time in that a lot of the things that it was describing weren't actually available. So it was talking about horizons coming, it was talking about what's going to be next, and everything that we do needs to fit in with this cloud way of working. So every new thing that we did, we had to consider whether there was a software as a service version, and how do we actually move away from the legacy kind of data center kind of mentality that we've had. A lot of people said it couldn't be done, but we've really pushed really hard to get us to a point now where we're infrastructure free from a server point of view on premise. And it was very much about that kind of using technology as a kind of disruptive change, so challenging the kind of old status quo of technology is the thing that holds you back, and actually saying, if you modernize what you have, actually it's the platform for the next thing that you're going to do. It's going to give you the growth. So we're in a massive growth area. We're just outside of the London kind of zone, just outside of the green belt. So there's lots and lots of opportunity for more people to come into the area. So we're kind of trying to help and make sure that we kind of have digital right in there from the beginning, and feeding it into our Garden City kind of philosophy, which I'll come on to. So in terms of kind of bringing that up to date, so in 2015, we kind of did the whole thing again. We had another little look at where we were going, and we decided that we needed to launch a whole new set of services, kind of on the digital side around new websites and other things around that, to actually provide that kind of step change again, that kind of disruptive kind of platform for changing things. We looked at various options, and we actually ended up choosing Salesforce as a platform to deliver a set of processes. So we started off, we only had about 13 processes that we were going to put online. And what we soon discovered was that actually that gave us a platform for doing a lot more. It also enabled us to think differently about the organisation. So as a council, and this is probably typical in lots of other organisations, we had very historically been stovepipe-based. So each department had its own systems, its own staff, its own customer, but the customer was actually obviously the same customer, but we treated them very, very differently. This new platform enables us to think about it differently and actually say, well, from a customer point of view, they may want to do lots of things with us, so let's actually work out how to make that better for the customer, and then restructure ourselves internally. So in effect, all of the staff have gone through a redeployment process, and it's not a classic reapplying for your own job. None of the jobs are the same because they're all changing in terms of how we deal with the customer. Rolling the clock forward again, 2017, we're now in that next kind of phase of digital disruption, if you like, and looking at what we can do really to raise the benchmark in terms of services to customers, what we can do to kind of shake off that old model of council here so that you can pay your council tax and deliver benefits and only deliver the services that the really needy need, to actually a kind of innovative, forward-thinking council that can deliver everything that you want. And we're trying to kind of introduce that step change. So in terms of the kind of phases of that, to me, there's kind of a series of steps that we've been through to do that. So there's the kind of straightforward publishing content. You know, here's a whole bunch of information. Please don't call us. We've put it on our website. Through to a little bit more interactive. So you can post something. You can fill in a form online, and you can post that through to us. And then hopefully you get a bit of response back, and we'll deal with that. Through to bi-directional, so you actually ask us some information, you get it back real time, you can update it real time, all the way kind of through to the predictive processing side. So we know what you want before you ask for it, and we can give you that information. So just trying to understand what we've done in those different areas. So 2015, big push around the website, really, really important. For a lot of people, this is our kind of first point of contact. We've had lots and lots of customer engagement, stripped out all of the useless pages, drastically improved search. So lots of debates about what was the important thing. Is it about structuring it up in the right way, or just putting a really good search engine on? Most people use Google or some search engine. Actually, can we have something like that that just enables people to find whatever they want? And then the thing about apps as well. So one of the most common requests we get is when is my bin day? So when our bin is going to be collected? So developing an app so that people could do that themselves whenever they wanted. In terms of posting requests in, the classic kind of things for emails or forms. So reporting something. So I'd like to report a missed bin. I'd like to report a pothole. I'd like to report a bit of vandalism. So the ability for people to share some information with us about where they are and what they've been doing, and actually request us to do something. The other big kind of post for us is around social media. So picking up on the social media information that's going on and us responding back to that. So when somebody has a query or a complaint or an issue with the council, we're able to pick that up and then respond back to that. But it's a very asynchronous process. It's not, in effect, real time. Kind of bringing this up to date really in terms of the services that we've now got. So we're now looking at complete bi-directional. And actually it's real time, and it's actually the system that you're updating when you do it. So you're not posting it into a holding place for it to be delivered later. It's actually you're updating it then and there. So the example for us around this is around our council tax. So we have historically produced paper bills. If anybody wants information about it, they have to contact us. It's quite a kind of long-winded, slow process. And every year we have a massive process to produce what's your paper. We have put, I think we've now got in terms of numbers, a third of our residents are online. That third of residents did not receive a paper bill. It was all electronic. The way we've got around some of the formatting issues is that we show the information real time as you would see it from the application, and hopefully from a kind of user customer friendly way. But there's a print button, and when you click the print button, it reformats it into the old format, how it would look, so that if people really need a paper copy, they can do that themselves. but obviously discourage wherever we can. So they can change their data, they can change circumstances, so they can apply for single person discounts, they can go through all of those processes, pay for things. It's kind of that one-stop shop. One of the really interesting things for us when we first started is when we launched, in effect, we were for the first time showing people their own data, and the biggest number of queries and corrections that we had were people saying, actually, you've misspelt my name, my circumstances have changed. And for us, that was a massive, really positive thing to actually say this information needs to be right, and the best people to understand it are the actual owners of that data themselves. Rolling the clock forward again, the next stage around this is around the kind of predictive processing. So the more that we understand about a customer, the more we understand about what they need, the more we're able to intervene early in the process and actually deliver them things that they want. So one of our issues at the moment, for example, is around debt management. So people get into debt, and then what we do is we then try and help them, but it's kind of almost too late. The more we can see what's going on, we can intervene earlier in the process so that we can actually avoid that. We offer a debt advice service. At the moment, we wait until they're in debt, so we don't kind of intercept that, whereas we could be doing things like that. So the more we kind of know the customer, it's kind of like that loyalty card, that store that you go to, or that fact that Amazon knows what you bought and it can deal with that. So that's the model that we're trying to build. Just talking through some of the other things that we've been doing and kind of some of the different customer bases, because it kind of makes a difference for us. So one of the other things we look after is taxis. I'm not sure if it's the same in Canada, but in the UK, it's a highly regulated business. You have to obviously be really careful about taxi drivers, the vehicles they're driving, and all of the things associated with that. Historically, that's been an incredible manual process, with people saying things like, well, I can't give a license to that person unless I've actually seen them. Well, actually, we're people pretty poor judges about things. We're much better if we actually look at the information about that, if we collect all of that information, and then scan through that and make sure that we have made the right decisions based upon that information. So we've put all of the taxi processes online, and as part of that, all the way through to one of the areas of failure we had in the process was you have to have your vehicle particularly checked so that you can drive it as a taxi, and we had a really, really high number of no-shows, cancellations last minute. We've put all of that online, so actually the customer, taxi driver in this case, can actually manage that themselves. Drastically reduce the number of no-shows, really improve the efficiency, obviously, in the workshop where they do that work, to such an extent that we're now looking to sell out those spare slots that we now know that we have to members of the public. So this is a kind of an example of where we're piggybacking the kind of the needs-based requirements with the commercial offerings that we've also got. Another example around the kind of end-to-end real-timeness of what we're doing is around the reporting of waste. So we offer waste services. So we will come and collect rubbish. We collect it on different bins on a different weekly cycle, and we collect food waste as well. We've got in-cab technology, which allows the drivers and the operators to flag any issues with the bin. So, for example, if somebody has contaminated the waste bin with something inappropriate, they put some asbestos in or something they shouldn't have done, we'll actually flag that as a contaminated bin, mark the bin so that the customer knows there, but also mark it online in the cab. What then happens is the back-end system gets updated all the way through to it actually gets shown on a screen in the customer's My Account, so that when they go online to say, actually, nobody picked my bin up and I've got a problem with it, they can actually see all of the information relating to that. So they can actually see why it wasn't picked up, what the issue was with it, and it will actually flag that it's not reportable if they're not meeting the set criteria. So if they haven't left it out in time or if they've contaminated it, and then they can deal with it all online. This is one of our biggest areas of calls, and we've actually put all of that service now online, so you can't actually ring to report a missed bin, you have to do it all through the digital experience. And then the other area that I talked around was around the kind of council tax and benefits. The other thing that we've done with this is rather than develop a lot of complex functionality, in effect, all we've done is we've built a window onto the system that was already there. And what we try to do wherever we can is piggyback on the good things that we've got, replace the things that are not so good, but for the good things, actually build on that information, use the APIs that are there and actually access that information directly. So moving on really to the kind of whole kind of connected knowledge strategy and what that's about. So for us, it's very much about building a digital platform, about providing access, about connecting together all of those kind of islands of information and data and putting some intelligence over the top, using things like artificial intelligence, so that we can look for patterns within the data. We, for example, do a single person discount I mentioned. We also do parking permits. So hold on, I've got somebody who's now requested a single person discount and 3 parking permits, is that right? We can look at that data now, and we can actually do fraud detection. We can look for anomalies in the information. Historically, we could never do that because each department was dealt with, treated the customer as an individual customer. Collecting that data together allows us also then to do the predictive and the forward-thinking things. So we have lots of customers that we know are asking about a particularly new service. So we know lots of people in a particular area are interested in having their grass cut. Well, actually, that's an idea that we could create a product for, put it back onto the marketplace, get a supplier to deliver that, and then sell that back to the customers that we know have been asking about it. So for us, this is about building a platform that's useful from actually stopping things going wrong and creating new business. We have still got in our digital platform an Ask the Expert. So the idea is in some of the services where it can't be dealt with by AI, which I'll come on to, or if it needs a kind of generalist to deal with it and it can't deal with, it can be passed through to an expert, but that's going to be in a very small number of cases. And you will only pass them through for that tiny bit of information that they need. So if somebody does need a very, very detailed piece of information about a planning application or a specialist skill around planning, we can kind of vet the query first, but then we can then consider, well, we might even charge for that service because we're now going to be offering a heightened level of information back. And very much supported by kind of a platform of suppliers and partners who are going to deliver these things. We have not got a massive IT team. We've got a very, very small IT team. We're using partners to deliver all of this. The other reason for that is that we don't know what all of the answers are. So where we find things that we could do better, we will unplug that component and put a better component in. So it's very much trying to learn by doing and build the solution. So in terms of the bits of data that we're looking at, we're very much changing our focus to what we used to do was we just used to deal with the query that we were being asked for. So you've asked me when my benefits next going to be paid, and now I've told you that piece of information. What we want to do now is collect that query. We want to know that the customer came in to ask us. We want to know that they've sent in several emails. We want to know that they've also raised a complaint about something. We want to collect much more information to build up a customer profile, as would a retailer or commercial organisation. The more we collect, the more we can do things with. We're going to then build on that. We're going to then create models, look at that information to then be able to do the predictive analytics that we've been talking about. In terms of the kind of maturity models, in terms of from an internal view, the business intelligence type view, we're obviously looking very much to move up the scale in terms of what we can do for that. But really, for me, it's at the other end of the scale. It's much more about the customer. So how do we make sure that we have the customer information, that we are giving them the best possible experience, that we make them want to come back to us to ask for everything? Why can't we deliver more? Why can't we deliver the services that haven't been traditionally delivered by a council? And that's the kind of model that we've got people to buy into. So this overall strategy is very much brought into not just by myself and the IT guys, but it is a whole council strategy. So it impacts us all. So we're looking at, we have a beautiful building, and actually we've got quite a lot of space. So what I'm looking to do is shrink us right down. Actually, why do people come into the office? Do we need the floor space that we have? Why don't they work from home? Can we provide the solutions that they're going to need to be able to do that? So it's very much, it encompasses everything that we do. This is about changing the way we deal with our customers and changing the way very much we work internally as staff. Just to talk a little bit then about the kind of technology and the kind of concepts that underpin this. We're looking to create a disaggregated network. So in effect, break the network down. At the moment, we have 2 areas already. So we have, if you like, a corporate network that people use for some things, and we have a public Wi-Fi. We have an increasing number of staff who just use the public Wi-Fi because they can access and do everything they want over the public Wi-Fi. So we're very much looking to break the network down. We're having to put in a new network arrangement because our current one is expiring, but the arrangement we're putting in place allows us to true down in effect, so switch off our network links at no cost. And we're working with the supplier to switch off our network links and increase our Wi-Fi, public Wi-Fi capacity at the same time. So a very progressive supplier who's enabled us to do that. We're not going to have any servers. We're not going to worry about servers at all. we're going to just completely use software as a service. We're removing our legacy applications, so we have quite a lot still, but we're getting rid of those. So every request to do something new, we challenge, and then we also look at how many people are using things, and we make sure that every application that we have, in effect, can run in a browser over the internet. We're removing all of our infrastructure. We will have no Active Directory because we'll have no Microsoft, we'll have no servers, we won't need it. We're looking to put in a new security component that will enable us to do security in the cloud. Customers, staff will log into that security component, and that will know what people are allowed to access, and then we'll in effect provide a web portal into all of their web-based applications. We have no operating systems, no PCs. We're having lots of discussions about this at the moment where people are saying, individual departments are saying, yes, but I have budget to buy a new laptop. Yes, but there are no staff to look after it, and we are not having any laptops. So we're having some very robust and positive discussions about, well, actually, if you need a new device, you can have a Chromebook or you can have some other browser-based device, but that's all you can have. And we're very much looking to give our customers and our staff the same experience. So by that I mean our customers can go online, really easily access stuff. It's really kind of an intuitive type system to use. They don't drop out partway through the process because they don't understand. Historically, our internal systems have been clunky, hard to use. We need to make sure that they're really, really easy in the same way, that Facebook-like experience, so that we don't have people going off on 2-3 weeks of training. Actually, it's kind of intuitive. And then we can create, through that set of technology solutions, a set of single connected data. But we're not building a massive data warehouse. This is not about extracting the data and putting it in an ivory tower that we might or might not use. It's about connecting it together in its source where it is currently. With a view then that the whole range of different devices can be accessed, can access that data that we need. Kind of bringing us right up to date, one of the great things is Aylesbury has just been given Garden Town status, which basically for us means that we can very much work with that to deliver our whole kind of smart city agenda. Right? That enables us to look at integrated infrastructure. So we can look at making sure that we have Wi-Fi enabled, provided connectivity, both in the ground to the villages. So we have a company that works with individual villages to provide dedicated solutions for broadband, where the major providers have opted not to, so that we can connect our residents wherever they live. We're looking in the towns at providing solutions whereby we will provide free service for those people as they're walking around. We're working with the county on that. We're looking at commercial waste solutions to enable us to do much smarter collection of rubbish. Might not sound very glamorous, but in the middle of a built-up area, it's a big issue. So making sure that we can clear that using digital and using technology to give us real-time information about what needs to be done when, and make sure we provide the most efficient service. We're looking at smart parking solutions so that people can, from home, if they really feel the need to drive in, they can work out what's their best route in, where the parking space is, and direct them straight in. We have, at the moment, if you like, an inner ring road that causes all sorts of bottlenecks. So we're looking to get rid of that. We're looking to extend the footprint to connect together all of the bits of public transport so that we can provide the best experience and the green spaces and all of those things that will give us that garden town status. We've been also talking to Milton Keynes, that we said about, but they're just north from here. They are investing a lot. Milton Keynes is a purpose-built town, city, and they are doing lots around things like pods for transport, personalised transport and vehicles. So we've been talking to them about their learnings and how we can piggyback on that, and whether we can actually provide, if you like, a complementary offering, bearing in mind that we're only 20 miles apart. So we're working with them on that. The next piece that I kind of referred to at the beginning, I mentioned Alexa. So we have been trialling Alexa and how best to fit Alexa with the services that we currently offer. We've talked to other councils and we've talked to other people about using this type of AI. And one of the things that we've realised is that if we develop something internally that is going to answer all of the different questions that a customer might ask and deal with all of the variables and the accents and everything, that's actually quite an ask to do, But if we do it the other way around and we use Alexa that already has been built to those things and put some additional services in there, it's much easier for us to meet that need. So we're building services where Alexa can read our website, so she can do the information type thing. She can see the information that's there and answer queries. We're thinking this is going to be useful around the both the mobility and then disability side, so enabling people to access our services when they might find it quite difficult to use a website or an app. They could use a voice-based integration to access those services. We're building some of our kind of forms type capabilities, so people could request new services. So assisted collection is probably a very good example. So assisted collection for us is for the elderly or people who cannot put their bins out. We offer an assisted collection service. We're looking to put that within Alexa so that people who actually might have issues around dealing with technology could actually talk to Alexa and actually ask her to set that up for them, and she'll take you through all of the steps. We're due to do full testing with Amazon Web Services in May, and then launch that service on the back of that. So we're very excited about that. Our next area that we're doing some trials around is around machine learning and artificial intelligence. We are looking at putting artificial intelligence over the top of our inbound channels. So we're going to start with email. So we're looking at providing a knowledge base so that it can understand all the emails that we get in and do preemptive responses to those emails. And it will sit alongside the agent and it will say, this person is asking for when the next bin collection is, I can see that information, here's the response that I think we should give them. So actually going through and prompting the agent with the right information. It can then learn, and then if the information is not correct, the agent corrects the information, and then the next time it happens, the percentage of certainty for the response goes up. So we've been working with actually how far, what level of certainty do we need to go back to, or do we need to get to before we actually say you could automatically send that? So does it have to be 95% certain or 90% certain? And if it doesn't know the answer, if we get a random question, we're then going to create those responses so that it can learn from that. We're quite excited about this. We think we're going to start off on our email channel and our web chat channel. I believe it's also going to come in on the telephone side as well, on the voice side, so that we'll be looking to start prompting responses back. This is going to help us enormously, particularly because we're changing one of the roles in the council. So we've got people who may have been very experienced in one area are now working in a completely different area or across areas. This agent will be able to actually sit on their shoulder and actually say, I think this is the answer, I think this is the answer. So it's that idea that we would normally, if you like, put the phone on hold or stop answering the email, ask your colleague, and then respond back. We'll be able to use artificial intelligence for doing that. So we're running those trials over the next few weeks. And then kind of pulling that all back together again, really. We're very much launching, we're kind of doing that eating the elephant one bite at a time. So we're very much building on the things that we've done, developing the next service, talking to the community about what are the services that they want, looking at the data that we've got, seeing how people are using what we've done, identifying the holes, and then building those next services. We're creating a connected learning platform that enables our staff to fit together the bits of learning that they have and kind of do the same thing from a customer point of view so that they can actually share their learnings and spread those across the organisation. So we're going to completely change the way in which we work. So the behaviour of the staff, the tools that they have to hand, the knowledge that they have and the way in which they can do their roles. So that we end up with a completely integrated connected knowledge platform which will enable us to step into the future and build a much, much closer relationship with our customers and our residents. That's it from me. Does anybody have any questions?
For folks, you pose your questions through the online Q&A chat window. And I guess while people are thinking about the questions, Mary Yvonne, I guess I would start with it's a wonderful vision, but maybe tell us what you've thrown out. I mean, there seems to be a fair number of things where you've thrown out and you've adopted. It seems like a web-centric, browser-centric approach to the provision of public services. So maybe start with telling us what you've thrown out.
Yeah, okay. So this is going to sound slightly odd, but some of that is around some of the metrics and controls that we put in place. So we put a set of targets when we first went live around volume. So we said, let's work out how quickly we can get to 10,000 accounts. So from 0 to 10,000, we're going to target doing that in 3 months. It was a kind of ridiculous target because the last system, it took us 5 years to get that far. But anyway, we set that target. We absolutely smashed that target. And then we set more volume-based targets on the back of that. What we've realized is that actually it's not about volume, it's about what people are doing. So we've now turned it on its head and said, no, let's stop doing that. That's not actually driving the right behavior. It's not about how many people have signed up, it's about how many people are using it and what they're doing. So it's about, I suppose, that next step really. So we've kind of thrown out the old, just tell me what's easy to count and I'll tell you how many I've got, to what's the really important metric that tells you whether the customer's engaged or not.
Well, I guess the other thing too, the model seems to be something that, and we kind of joked yesterday, every morning I go to the coffee shop at Tim Hortons and stand in line, and everybody is busy looking at their smartphones. And it seems to me what you guys are doing, Mary Vaughan, is it's prep for a mobile first kind of philosophy by adopting the browser, and I assume compatibility with mobile browsers, citizens could access services wherever they are.
Yes, it's absolutely about that. So, you know, councils have historically had you can call us between 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, or sorry, apart from Friday when we finish at 4:30, but you know, that kind of traditional model, it's on our terms, it's on the council terms, to turning it on its head. Actually, no, it's on the customer's terms, and customers, everybody carries a smartphone, everybody's walking around with them, as you say, they're attached to them all of the time. So if they suddenly remember that they've got to do something, or actually we can prompt them that they need to do something at a particular time, we can send that directly to their device, they can see it, they can pick it up, and deal with it then and there. It just cuts down on that whole, then I've got to remember to do this and do it at some other point in the future. So it's about that, yeah, it's about what customers want, I think. It's about, I guess, about trying to keep up, but for me, ideally, more than keep up, it's about, can we actually get ahead of them? So that's partly what we're trying to do with the Alexa piece, really, to say, let's look at how far we could go with this and whether that's going to be the right thing. Coming back to the question you asked previously about anything else we're going to drop in, we don't know how successful that's going to be, but we're going to give it a good go, and then see what the evidence says and then decide where to go next with it.
Well, it's a fascinating vision, and seems to me that you guys, you've kind of thrown out sort of the desktop hardware-centric kind of approach with no Active Directory and no physical servers, and it's very much a cloud-based philosophy. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's absolutely that. So let's have the services running in the cloud, in the internet somewhere, we don't really know where, and we will be able to access those from securely, I will add, but we'll be able to access those securely from any device. That is absolutely the model that we're looking for, which is partly why I referred to what we're doing with our physical footprint in the building. So, you know, we've traditionally sat in the way that we sat in the teams that we sit, so that we can ask colleagues questions about things and respond to customer queries in a certain way. If we've changed that model, as we've introduced, you know, mobile telephony, which means that you can have the same number wherever you are. Actually, you don't need a physical traditional desk phone for doing that. You could actually do that on your personal device. So we're looking at, and we're working with staff to understand how many people would want, actually, if you like, a work app on their personal device, so that they can use one device as opposed to carry those 2 mobile phones around. So yes, we're very much kind of stepping through those bits.
Well, the other thing I noted, Mary Vaughan, was it's essentially a 4-year plan where year 1, you're looking at a cloud-based software as service approach, and year 2, the connected knowledge platform. Year 3, sort of the AI digital voice control. And year 4, I noted that you prepped it for remote workers and work anywhere philosophy. So really, it's a very interesting vision that is so different from what sort of our normal desktop oriented approach. But the world is going this way. I mean, it's a cloud-based kind of world right now. So how are you doing in terms of your schedule?
It's interesting, actually. So hearing you say that back, so we haven't actually been, if you like, long on the schedule. I think we've changed it already. So you can't really, I mean, you can't really do the things in a series because we don't know which things are going to be best and how it's all going to work out. So we are trying to do, if you like, a thin slice, almost in parallel. So we have started, as you can see, we have started on the voice recognition and integration type piece already, because we don't know where that's going to go. What we want to do is see how receptive people are to it, whether they love that to bits, and that's therefore where we should invest more of our money for them to deliver the right services, or actually whether they're not ready, or actually whether something better comes along. So the thing for certain is we don't know what's coming next. There are new things coming all the time. So you look at the impact that 3D printing's made. It was talked about for ages. It was incredibly expensive. It was, wow, won't this be amazing if it ever happens? To, in lots of places, it's kind of a norm. It's just actually that's what we do. People have jobs in it. It's a very accepted thing, and those type of things come from places and will transform really where things are going next. I think, technology is exciting, and with the things that it can do, particularly where it meets needs that people have and can, in your case, and our case, provide greener solutions, more on a customer terms type solutions.
Well, one of the other things I thought was really interesting, and it's on page 18 of the document. I popped it into the chat window if folks can see that, but on page 18 of the document, it mentions the community cloud sharing, parking data across the whole district. Could you give us a sense of what the vision for that community cloud is?
Yes. So this is very interesting for us. So historically, this is going to sound terrible, but we've only shared the bits that we were told we had to share. I think nobody could really see the power of sharing more. So if I take the parking one, we own some of the car parks. The county will own some of the car parks. Other people own some of the car parks. So from a resident's point of view, if they want to park somewhere, they don't really care who owns the car park. They just want to know where the space is. So we have to be able to share that information together to create collaborative solutions that are customer-centric rather than our supplier-centric, if you like. So we're talking to those interested parties to say, actually, how are we going to do that? How are we going to make sure that we're doing this in a complementary manner rather than historically what would have been a competitive manner? Another example for me would be we do all of the kind of food standards for the restaurants and cafes and things. We use that to license the premises and to kind of post at what the food rating is. We could actually publish that data, and then it'd be very interesting. Somebody could write a little app on top of that, and if you were thinking of going to eat somewhere, somebody could have a little look at what the rating it got. So there's a whole bunch of things that we could start sharing more of the data that we have, so that we can both build it in terms of the community and the others working on it, but enable other people to think of even clever ways of using it. We've been talking to Milton Keynes about this quite a lot, so they've done quite a lot around that if you like, communal data platform, really. Let's put some information there, see what people use it for, see whether it's useful, and then grow it into something else.
And I guess the last question that I'll ask, we haven't had any questions from the folks yet, but in closing, the question that I would ask you, on page 16 of the document, it speaks to the connected knowledge and equal access to data through that connected knowledge platform, which I think is in essence what you're just chatting about. I mean, do you have a vision to open data up for local programmers in terms of growing your green digital economy?
Yes, so absolutely. I mean, we're in the scale of things, we're quite small. So, and we won't necessarily have all of the good ideas. So, yeah, that is exactly what we're looking to do. So if we can share that information, open that information up, I'm hoping other people will go, oh, we could write something on that. We can write an app using that would be really useful to people, or would help me and therefore help other people. So I don't know, let's pick something really bizarre. Something that would help with working out for music venues. Something that would understand what we're showing in the different music venues and post that. If we have access to that data, we can put that together. Somebody may then write an app on top of that. We have a theatre that offers shows that come out of London. We could actually post that information together with information around the people who are in it. We could see people's previous patterns in terms of what they've been to see, and then we could package that together with where we know they like to eat, give them a car parking space, and even probably, I don't know, a valet with an umbrella to walk them to the door so they don't get wet. I mean, we're trying to think right out there in terms of the things that people might want to do with this information and the services then we could offer.
Well, that's wonderful, Mary Vaughan. I mean, at the start of this presentation, we talked about, that because of your philosophy, and what I would say simple and effective philosophy through the browser, mobile first compatible, I mean, I do think that you guys are prepped for actually making that move from physical bits like paper to actual digital, but in a format that citizens will actually use.
Which absolutely is the key, because we're not doing this for us, we're absolutely doing it for citizens. So it is about providing that experience that works for them. And I suppose this is I don't really have the same analogy, the cobbler's shoes. What I'm really keen is that we give the customers, residents, citizens a great experience, and by implication then we give staff a great experience, that we don't end up with the staff having the really clunky old things, but actually the staff have the great things as well, because it's all part of the same experience.
No, that's an incredible vision, and this presentation, of course, will be stored within our partners' YouTube channel, so any folks can find all of the archives of previous presentations if you go to YouTube and search for MCCAC, and I've popped the document link within the chat window, but we'll post those two within our YouTube channel. Thanks so much, Mary Vaughan. This has been fantastic.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye now.